Hey everyone, welcome to AMC Mailbag, the all mailbag show here on AMC Movie News, where all we do is take your questions. I'm Ashley Mova, and if you've got a question that you want answered on air, you can send it over anytime to amcmovietalk@gmail.com. You could get answered on Mailbag or Movie Talk, and sitting with me to answer those questions right here, right now, is the editor-in-chief of AMC Movie News, Mr. John Campea. John, how are you today?
I'm excellent today.
As am I.
It's been a great day for me so far today. Very busy, but very good. I always love coming in to do movie talks, so I'm ready to go.
I'm ready to go too. And away we go. Niall Collins writes, "Hi guys, love the show and never miss an episode. How do you think Disney should announce the first spin-off? I personally think it should be in the end credits of The Force Awakens."
Well, I mean, clearly he's talking about Star Wars spin-off when he says that, because he mentions The Force Awakens. No, that's not how they're going to announce it, because that's only 1 year away. When The Force Awakens comes out, it's only going to be 1 year until the new Star Wars spin-off comes out. So a lot will be announced by that time. Maybe not a trailer by then, because it's a full year out, but maybe there will be. But they will save it for a long time. But the other big problem with the idea... Now, look, it's a cool idea. It's a very romantic idea to have, introduce us to the spin-off movie with like a post-end credit scene or something that happens near the end of the movie or something like that. That's all very romantic. But The Force Awakens happens 30 years after the events of Return of the Jedi. If the rumors are true, and we're seeing more and more evidence pile up to this to point towards, so there's a reasonable expectation to believe that these rumors are probably going to turn out to be true. The first spin-off movie is going to be a heist film about a group of bounty hunters stealing the plans to the original Death Star. And if that's the case, well, then that happens about a year or two before the events of the first Star Wars movie. So you're looking at a 35-year span difference between. So they're in different eras. So you can't have something happen in The Force Awakens that announces or alludes to, you can have a little callback or something like that, what's going to happen in the spinoff. So the fact that it's only 1 year away, so we're going to hear lots of stuff about it before it happens, and the fact that they happen in two different time eras, I think kind of disqualifies them from setting up the spinoff film in The Force Awakens.
Do you think they could do some Twitter announcement? I don't know why I can't get over that Twitter announcement thing. It was just
You're hooked on this Twitter thing.
It just was like, it blew my mind the way they announced it. Do you think that they'll do it again?
I think the Twitter thing was so anticlimactic. The fact that they announced the title of the new Star Wars film via a Twitter post, very anticlimactic and very against the grain of what Disney has been doing through Marvel and Pixar. They've been kind of making events out of announcing these titles. You brought up a very interesting theory that I completely believed in before when you said, it felt like they knew somebody was about to leak the title. So they just hopped on Twitter really quick to release it themselves, which was the right thing to do. If they felt the title of the new Star Wars movie, The Force Awakens, was about to be leaked, take control of it. And even though it's not ideal, take control of it and release it on Twitter. I have to believe they're going to do something a little bit better than that. And I believe we're going to know the title of the new Star Wars movie in April. Fact checker Jonathan, I'm looking for the date of the Star Wars Celebration convention. I think it's in April. And that's going to be happening in Anaheim, I believe. Me and Christian Harloff, because we're relaunching AMC Jedi Council, so we're going to. Did you find the date on that?
The date is April 16th through the 19th.
Okay, so I believe, I have nothing to base this on, by the way, but I believe that we will probably get a title for that first Star Wars spinoff and confirmation that, yes, this is the bounty hunter heist film of them stealing the plans to the original Death Star. So I do not believe that they will. If all things are within their control, they will not plan on releasing the big announcement via a Twitter post. Not this time.
We shall see.
Yes.
Jesse writes, "Hi AMC, huge fan. 2015 looks like the most exciting year for movies. Directors like Spielberg, Scorsese, Tarantino, Terrance Malick, and David O. Russell have movies coming out this year, with movies from Tom Hanks, Robert Redford, Truth, Michael Fassbender, Macbeth, Leonardo DiCaprio, The Revenant, and Joseph Gordon-Levitt, The Walk coming out this year, and movies from Meryl Streep, Jennifer Lawrence, Joy, Cate Blanchett, Carol, Nicole Kidman, Queen of the Desert, and Julianne Moore, Freeheld. Isn't the 2016 Oscars too predictable?"
Well, I mean, look, you read off a list like that,
Yeah.
And sure, I mean, that's the year we have. Like, it's not just. A lot of times we talk about how great of a year 2015 is shaping up to be, and we're normally talking in terms of geek films. But even in just, if you're a general movie fan, this is going to be a great year. This is going to be a great year in film. And sure, it's easy, or it's natural, I should say, to sit back and look at lineups like this and think, well, we already know what the Oscars are going to look like. And while I believe, yeah, you can probably call some, the fact that you think by looking at the list you know exactly what's going to happen, it never turns out that way. I mean, who saw, when we first started talking about, oh, they've announced this new little movie called Birdman, about a guy who used to play a superhero back in the day and now it's today. Who thought that would be a film we were going to be talking about as one of the front runners for the Best Picture Oscar? It's going to have Michael Keaton. Awesome, it's going to have Michael Keaton. But who thought? No, but anybody who tells you they did are just lying to you, okay? Who would have thought when that, the news of that movie first came out, hey, Michael Keaton is going to be probably the de facto front runner for the Best Actor nomination. Nobody saw that coming. When we first started talking about Whiplash and God now say we're going to take that 15-minute short film they did and make it into a thing and that J.K. Simmons was coming back, who would have thought that J.K. Simmons would be the de facto front runner for Best Supporting Actor? When we heard about Gone Girl, well, look, it was in the hands of David Fincher, so we knew some good stuff was going to come out of it. But who sat back and said, well, obviously, when they announced Gone Girl like 2 years ago, obviously Rosamund Pike is going to be in the running for Best Actor. Nobody thought that, even though she's a good actress. So you always think these things. But remember, a lot of people, when they first now go the other way, when they announced Magic in the Moonlight with Colin Firth and Emma Stone, and it's a Woody Allen film, and also a lot of people thought, hey, Colin Firth, he's already got an Oscar. A lot of people said, well, obviously Colin Firth is going to be in the discussion. Well, that didn't happen. When The 100-Foot Journey, I still remember the conversations. When The 100-Foot Journey was first announced, and starring Helen Mirren, and the type of film it was, I remember a lot of the pundits sitting back for obvious reasons. Helen Mirren has got Oscars and had multiple Oscar nominations. Everybody sat back and said, well, obviously Helen Mirren is going to be in the Best Actress race. Lo and behold, she's not. I mean, just go back let's get out of this year, just go back a little bit. Gangster Squad. That movie was coming. I was like, well, damn, Josh Brolin's going to be in there for Best Actor. Sean Penn's probably going to be in there for Best Actor. It's going to be nominated for Best Picture, blah, blah. And it turned out to be a steaming pile of poop. So, I mean, we can sit back and look at this list of films, right? But that's the great thing about the movies. It's art. And you can do all these things right. Get the right directors, the right writers, the right actors in place. But because art is such a finicky and difficult thing, it is so hard to make a good movie that we can sit back and look and think we know what's going to happen. It's a lot like sports that way. I know I draw a lot of sports analogies, but it's a lot like sports that way. That's why you play the game. It doesn't matter if one team is the number 1 ranked and one team is number 40 ranked. Anything can happen. You could have the best actors, best director, everything, and you can go in and you can get a gangster squad. And that's why we go to the movies. And yeah, look, obviously a couple of these names are going to be out there. I just predicted on AMC Movie Talk this week that Leonardo DiCaprio, next Oscars, that The Revenant, this is going to be the film that wins him his Academy Award. I totally believe that, but I haven't seen the movie yet.
Right.
So we'll see what happens. It could be the next Gangster Squad. But don't ever think, the moment you think that the next year's Oscars are predictable, it's going to get blown up. Some of these names will be there, some of them won't. And then a few dark horses that we never would have expected are going to be there too. And that's why I love the movies.
To me, it almost makes it less predictable because there's so many, this lineup is so huge that it makes it difficult to decide who's going to be the winner.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, the nominees might be there, but the winner is...
It can be a crazy race. Yeah, because that's another level of it. Like, it's almost impossible just to predict a year in advance who the nominees are going to be because it hardly ever works out the way you think. Then there's that next level of picking who's going to win.
Right.
Yeah, it's a tough thing.
Henry O writes, I just wonder why people keep thinking and saying that Marvel is going to have their first flop or bomb soon. Guardians of the Galaxy already proved people wrong, and I'm hoping Ant-Man will next. But yet I still hear people predict Marvel films will flop every time they release a new property, along with a sequel to a known character, when they have already had their first flop. Well, financially, The Incredible Hulk, out of all the MCU films, it is the lowest profit film to date, hence why there has not been any sequel, reboot, or even remake announced to this day. So why do people keep forgetting this?
Well, I mean, yeah. First, let's start with The Incredible Hulk. The Incredible Hulk was not a flop. You cannot use that word flop. When a movie at least comes close to breaking even, it's not a flop. A flop is a very different thing. That's a movie that lost the studio a lot of money. Now, The Incredible Hulk made $263 million worldwide on a $150 million budget. So you take away the 1/3 that the theaters keep, then The Incredible Hulk made around $183 million. You add to that $150 million production budget, say $25 million, that's $175 million that really went into the film. You still got a profitable movie. The Incredible Hulk was not a flop. I mean, that's the thing. I know a lot of us, when we think in terms of that, we just automatically think, oh yeah, that Incredible Hulk film, that was their flop. And it wasn't. It was actually profitable for them. And the other thing to keep in mind about that Incredible Hulk film, it was right at the outset of the whole Marvel Cinematic Universe. But also, it was a very early reboot of the Ang Lee Hulk. Like, that was a really early reboot. I can't think of a faster reboot than potentially The Amazing Spider-Man. And it was coming off a poorly received Hulk film done by Ang Lee. So now it was rebooted all of a sudden out of nowhere. It was early in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It was a $150 million budget film, and it still made them a little bit of money. Okay, so as far as the predictions about everybody says the next Marvel film is going to flop, whatever, you can understand why people thought Guardians of the Galaxy would. But let's not forget, it's not just that it was a Marvel film and therefore it made lots of money. It was a freaking awesome movie. That helped a lot. Like, if James Gunn and company had made a mediocre film, I still believe Guardians of the Galaxy probably would have broken even. But the fact that it was so outstanding and people went back to see it 2, 3, 4, 5 times, that's what really pushed over the edge. Not the fact that it was a Marvel film, the fact that it was a magnificent film. That's what really pushed over the edge. So now when we're talking about Ant-Man, we can't just say, well, Guardians of the Galaxy was a slightly lesser known, well, it was a really lesser known Marvel property, and it did awesome. Yeah, but that doesn't really apply to Ant-Man, because while those similarities are true, what really pushed Guardians over the edge was the fact that it was a magnificent film. And that is what is going to make or break Ant-Man. If Ant-Man is a bad film, it's going to make decent money on its opening weekend simply because of that Marvel title, but then it will lose its legs. How many legs does an ant have? Fact checker? 8? I don't know. It'll lose all 8 of its legs. But if it's a magnificent film, and if Paul Rudd owns it, and it's funny, and it's entertaining and engaging, it's going to go on a big run, like Guardians of the Galaxy did. So let's not just put it under the umbrella of it's a Marvel film, so therefore it'll be great. You got to take a very hard look at how quality was the movie. That's really the big end of it, and that's ultimately what's going to decide its fate.
Even if Marvel had a couple of flops here and there, do you really think that would really prevent people from going to see the next Marvel movie? I don't think it would really hurt them that much.
No, they're in a position right now where it's about momentum too, right? Because you do one great movie and then one bad movie. That can stifle your momentum. It can stifle that positive goodwill you had with the fans and fans wanting to go see. But at this point, Marvel has made so many good movies. Marvel has made so many movies that audiences have come out enjoying themselves and having had a good time at the theater, that even if they hit a real stinker, like, to me, they've only really had one stinker, and that was Iron Man 2. I thought that was a bad film. I liked Iron Man 3. But anyway, to me, Marvel's only had one stinker. And it was, by that point, they had already had several successful films. It was a bump in the road. At this point now, you've got I mean, Thor and Captain America Winter Soldier, Guardians of the Galaxy, Avengers. You have all these super high quality, super high, well-received films by the fans that they can hit. Like, if Ant-Man just sucks, Ant-Man will suffer, but it will not hurt Captain America the Winter Soldier.
Right.
If you get Ant-Man sucks and Captain America the Winter Soldier, not Captain America the Winter Soldier, but Captain America Civil War, if you get two back-to-back that suck, then maybe you got to start being careful a little bit. But no, one flop, one stinker right now is not going to derail this train. It's going to take several in a row.
Makes sense. Aditya Kashyap writes, "Hey AMC crew, love the show. I wanted to ask you, what are the chances of a Scooby Doo franchise reborn? It is definitely a favorite among many and can be a great movie with spooky comedy. I know they tried it once, but I think it bombed because nothing came after that. Any chances of a studio revisiting it?"
No, it bombed because it sucked. And once again, it actually didn't bomb. There were two Scooby Doo movies. Scooby Doo and Scooby Doo something evil of the Phantasm Night Shift. I don't know I can't remember what the name of the second. Fact checker Jonathan, can you look up the name of the second Scooby Doo movie? But the first one actually made $275 million worldwide. It was profitable. It made them a nice little tidy bit of money, which obviously made them want to go and do a second one. And the second one was called
2004's Monsters Unleashed.
Monsters Unleashed. Thank you. Scooby Doo Monsters Unleashed.
Is that the one with Freddie Prinze Jr. or
Yes.
no? Yes.
Okay. He was in both of them. And I believe the tagline, now that I'm thinking about it, I think the tagline of it was "Boo the Right Thing" or something like that.
That's kind of cute.
Yeah, it was kind of cute. But remember, the first one made $275 million. The second one made $181 million. That is a huge drop-off. It went from being a very profitable one, and the second Scooby-Doo movie was an expensive film to make. So it went from a very profitable one to maybe break even or maybe lose a little bit of money for the studio. And so that flatlined, not because nothing came after it. Who cares what comes after it? It flatlined. Here's the thing. Had there not been a Scooby-Doo live-action movie made yet, I would say, yes, try a Scooby-Doo thing. But it's been done. They resurrected Scooby-Doo. They did two movies. One did kind of well, I think, because people wanted to see it, but it wasn't very good. But it made enough money that they tried a second one, and it showed that it wasn't very good because it went in their box office. Fewer people were willing to go out and check it out the second time around. I don't see any reason. If I was a studio head right now, I would not greenlight a Scooby-Doo movies. It's been done. We made a little bit of money off it. The audience told us they didn't want to see any more by the huge drop-off in the profits on it. It's maybe in 15, 20 years, maybe, but we've done it, and it's done.
Womp womp. Well, she said at this point, nothing came after it. That's the reason why it bombed. Has there ever been a movie situation where the second film saved the first?
Not financially, no, because by that time it's done. I mean, it's the movie comes out in theater, people went to go see it or they didn't. It's not like if next year they go see a sequel, they can go back to theater and watch the first one again. Unless you're something like a Star Wars that can do a re-release every 15 years in theaters, but nah, that doesn't really apply.
All right. John Long writes, "Hey guys, I found your show over a year ago and I can honestly say I'm hooked. I watch your show every day. I enjoyed the Sherlock Holmes films. I have been waiting patiently for the third installment to hit theaters, but I haven't heard anything about it. The second film left us believing that a third film is underway. Is Robert Downey Jr., Jude Law, and Warner Brothers going to make Sherlock Holmes 3?
I really liked the first Sherlock Holmes. Directed by Guy Ritchie, who is a real favorite director of mine. I'm a huge fan of Snatch. I love Snatch. That movie's it's my favorite Brad Pitt film too. Anyway, so then they did a second one, which I did not like as much, but I still enjoyed. And they introduced us to Moriarty in the second one, which I thought was great. And they clearly left the door open for a third. And I am shocked that we haven't got a third one by now. Now, obviously, Robert Downey Jr. got real busy. Jude Law, not as busy, but Guy Ritchie has also kept himself busy. So a lot of people are wondering, is this going to happen? About a year ago, Jude Law said, as a matter of fact, me, Guy Ritchie, and Robert Downey Jr. have all had a meeting. And we came up with some great ideas, and we are planning on moving forward. But then we don't hear anything for like 8-9 months. But then back in October, just a few months ago, Robert Downey Jr. was doing an Ask Me Anything as he was promoting The Judge. And somebody in there asked him, what happened with Sherlock 3? Are we going to get a Sherlock 3? And he said, yes, we are still doing a Sherlock 3. We just want to make sure we get the script to the point that it's going to be the best Sherlock ever, which is a tall order because the first one was pretty damn good. He said, but we're all on board. We are going to make it happen. We don't have a timeline yet, but it is still moving forward. We're going to do it. So to answer your question, according to Robert Downey Jr. and apparently Jude Law, the three of them are still going to come back. Law, Robert Downey Jr., Guy Ritchie, and they are doing a third one. It's in development, and it's going to happen.
When I was looking up articles for this, I saw so much talk if there would be an Iron Man 4 or not. So much talk. Do you think that affects their shooting for the movie by chance? Well,
look, whether it's Iron Man 4 or whether it's Captain America, Civil War, or whether it's plans to have the two more Avengers films that are coming after that, it affects it. Every film that Robert Downey Jr. does that is going to tie up time in his schedule. This is all stuff now that any potential Sherlock Holmes film is going to have to work around. Now, on top of Sherlock Holmes, Robert Downey Jr. for about 5 years now, his production company has got the rights to Perry Mason. And he's been really hell-bent on getting a Perry Mason franchise launched. For those of you who don't know who Perry Mason is, Perry Mason was a classic TV show. He was like, I don't know if he was the original. This is before my time, but it's like the original courtroom drama. He would defend his clients who clearly looked like they were guilty. By the end of that episode, he always found the real person who committed the murder. Like, that's what Perry Mason did, right? And so I remember when they first announced that Robert Downey Jr. and his production company, they got the rights to Perry Mason, they wanted to do a series of films. I thought it was a great fit. I thought seeing Robert Downey Jr. play Perry Mason would be great. But that is also sitting on the shelf. And then it comes the question, okay, when he is able to find a window now, because The Judge came out, and it's no coincidence, by the way, that The Judge comes out horribly bombed, and then suddenly Robert Downey Jr. is read up with Marvel to play more Iron Man and more Marvel cinematic movies. It was no coincidence. So now he's going to have to find, when he does find little bits of time where he can shoot other projects, what is going to be his priority? Is it going to be Perry Mason, which he's been trying to get off the ground for 5 years? Or is it going to be Sherlock Holmes 3, which is a part of an ongoing franchise that he has? So that could become a big player in this as well.
I guess we'll see.
Yep.
Crocutta writes, my question is about Ron Howard's In the Heart of the Sea. Just 2 months before its release, it was pushed back to December 2015. Is that only in the USA or worldwide? IMDb is a bit confusing at the moment. And what does that mean for the film? Are they doing it for award's sake, or are there some serious problems with the film? I was quite looking forward to it. I enjoy Ron Howard's work very much.
Yeah, actually, Ron Howard did a really nice little, he introduced AMC Movie Talk for us one day. Right. He did a nice talking about Heart of the Sea and led us into AMC Movie Talk, which is very nice of him. No, I can tell you for a fact that I know the studio believes in this film very much. They believe in this film a lot. They like their film a lot. I think what happened was they saw the tracking numbers, which all of us ignored. All of us ignored the tracking on American Sniper. Because if we had paid attention, which we did not, we would have known. We still probably wouldn't have guessed a $90 million opening weekend, but we would have known it was going to be huge. I think they saw how Sniper was tracking, especially given the fact that it was getting Oscar buzz, and they knew it was going to get these Oscar nominations, which gave it a whole ton of attention. And I think they realized, no, we think this is an Oscar caliber film. And what they want to have happen, at least what they're hoping will happen, is that now they're going to open this in December, right around the time when Oscar nominations come out, and The Heart of the Sea is going to be amongst those, and it's going to do for them what it did for American Sniper, which is really push it forward. Now, the Oscar nominations is not the only reason that American Sniper made a lot of money. There were people interested in American Sniper before the Oscar nominations, but damn it sure helped. And it pushed it ahead. So I think that's what they're counting on. They want to capitalize on what they believe is an Oscar caliber film to capitalize on the Oscar nominations next year.
Very smart.
Yes, very smart.
Do you think, I can't help but see the coincidence of Chris Hemsworth's film Black Hat not doing well, and then him being in this next in The Heart of the Sea. Do you think that there's any connection there?
No, I really don't. We are living in an age where, and we have for a number of years now, the star will not radically affect your box office. Because it's not just Chris Hemsworth. Hell, we just talked about Robert Downey Jr. You put out The Judge, and when they first said Robert Downey Jr. and this legal drama, and he's got like one of the greatest actors of all time acting with him in it, blah, this is going to be huge. Bomb, nobody was interested. Christian Bale is one of the hottest stars in Hollywood right now. He does Out of the Furnace, bombs, nobody goes to see it. So I don't think they're particularly nervous about Black Hat doing badly. Black Hat was going to do badly. Black Hat would have done even worse had it not been Chris Hemsworth in it. I mean, that's just the thing. I think they just felt like, I think we can profit from this a lot and get more awards attention because we think this is that good of a movie if we put it into December. And I think that was their strategy.
All right. Roger Toba writes, great show and always very thoughtful about the movies. I saw your video regarding the Oscar nominations and thought everything you said made perfect sense over your predictions about the nominees and who would win. However, I later heard about how much American Sniper made in its opening weekend and wondered if there could be some sort of populist sentiment that could overwhelm enough of the Academy voters to affect the final results and possibly open the door for the movie to sweep in the 6 categories it has nominations for.
No. No. I mean, look, yeah, it has American Sniper made a lot of money? Yes. Is it a really good movie? I can honestly tell you, yes, it is. Is it a movie I would recommend people go to see? Yes. Is it the best film of the year? No. No. It's not in the top 5. But it's a very, very good movie. And look, I wouldn't even have nominated it for Best Picture. But it's good enough that I'm not raising my fists and saying, how is that in there? No, okay, I wouldn't have put it in there. But it's a good enough movie. You can make an argument that it deserves to be in there, sure. You'd have a hell of a hard time convincing me, though, that it deserves, it would actually deserve to win at that point. The fact that it's making a lot of money is absolutely irrelevant. Because American Sniper, in its opening weekend, made more money, almost more money than all the other Best Picture nominees combined. Crazy. So obviously the Academy the other 7 films got nominated for Best Picture. They didn't care about the box office results, nor should they. Box office does not equal quality, and lack of box office does not equal lack of quality. It's all about marketing. Does this appeal to a broad number of people? Well, there's a lot of different elements that go into it. But box office means absolutely zero as far as the quality of the film. Now, it gets into it a little bit, like when you start getting to money values or things like Guardians of the Galaxy, where people are going back multiple times to see the film. That might speak to it a little bit. But $90 million opening weekend doesn't mean the movie was good. It just means that many people were willing and thought the trailers were good, and so they wanted to go give it a shot. If money was going to do this, actually, fact checker Jonathan, can you look at this? What year? I believe it was 2009, but can you verify for me what year Avatar came out? Because I think the year Hurt Locker won Best Picture at the Academy Awards, I think Avatar was one of the films it was nominated against. And I think actually Avatar, if I'm not mistaken, was, by some people, I mean, it was all the buzz because it was breaking all the box office records, right? Avatar was the big juggernaut film. It went on to become the biggest box office dominating film of all time. No film has ever made as much money as this. And I can't see a day anytime soon when another one's going to come along where it does make as much money. Have we found that out? Was it the same year?
Yeah, no. Avatar was December of 2009, so you're right there, but Hurt Locker was October 2008.
Okay, so were they category? All right, so there. I thought what was nominated against Hurt Locker? Can you look up the nominees at Hurt Locker? Because I thought it was the same year that they were. Okay, so it was the same year. So Dennis is clarifying it was the same year. So Avatar makes $2+ billion. Hurt Locker domestically made $17 million. So if the big force of the box office was going to influence Academy voters, then surely it would be with the biggest box office film of all time versus a film that made relatively very little money. And it did not. Hurt Locker won Best Picture, and it deserved to win Best Picture over Avatar, at least in my belief. I like Avatar, but I didn't think it should win Best Picture. So I don't think we're going to see it happen now either. So no, I don't think we're going to see American Sniper, despite its box office thing. I don't think we're going to see it win Best Picture.
So there's no correlation between wins and box office? As far as Oscars go?
No, I don't think so at all. But, because a lot of times the people will sometimes complain, that, a lot of times the Best Picture nominees are ones that not a lot of people saw. Well, that's because the Academy's not worried about how much money a film made. They're worried about, is it a great film or not? And oftentimes that has nothing to do with how much money it makes. And then sometimes you'll get movies like Avatar that do get nominated and deserve to be nominated. You'll get movies like the Lord of the Rings films that all got nominated for Best Picture and actually won Best Picture. So obviously there's no thing that says box office affects it positively or negatively. We've seen all no-name films be nominated for Best Picture. We've seen huge box office blockbusters get nominated for Best Picture. Doesn't affect it one way or the other.
Okay. Mr. T writes, I've been a regular viewer for 3 years now.
Wow.
I have a question, given that 2016 may be the biggest year for superheroes movies yet. WB/DC has 2 movies, Batman v Superman and Suicide Squad. Disney/Marvel has 2 movies, Captain America Civil War and Doctor Strange. Fox has 3 movies, Deadpool, X-Men, Apocalypse, and Gambit. Which one will win at the box office? I think WB/DC will win, given that B versus S is the most talked about movie since the announcement at SDCC. Thanks and keep up the great work.
Yeah, SDCC, that's the San Diego Comic-Con. I'm going to throw a wild one out there.
Whoa.
I think Fox is going to win the box office strictly on numbers.
Okay.
I think I think if Fox just had 2 films coming out that year, I would say that DC and Warner Brothers would win the box office just on Batman versus Superman alone. Because Captain America Civil War is going to be big and it's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how big the first Doctor Strange movie is going to be. I think it could be great, but I don't, it'll make 300 million, but will it make 400 million? Will it make 700 million? Will it make, I don't know that first one will. Fox, on the other hand, X-Men Apocalypse, I believe, is going to be huge. Is it going to be as huge as either Batman versus Superman or Captain America Civil War? I don't think so. I don't think it'll be as big as either one of those. But unlike Marvel and unlike Warner Brothers and DC, Fox has 2 other films besides the one big one. Yeah. So they got, I was going to say Daredevil. Now they've got Deadpool and they've got the Gambit movie. And so I think if one of those hits fairly big, which they both have the potential to hit big, if one of those hits big, I believe just the sheer numbers game that they've got 3 films where the other 2 studios have 2, I believe pushes Fox over the line a little bit. Look, this is an outside shot, but I'm going to pick the outside horse in this. I'm going to pick Fox will win the box office that year. Just simply because they got 3 films.
Which one are you most excited to see? Which movie?
Oh, Batman versus Superman. Batman versus Superman. I mean, this is a film. I've said this before on the show. I will say it again. This is a film I have been waiting 20 years to see. Yeah. I've been waiting to see this movie, and might even be longer than that, since as a teenager, I read The Dark Knight Returns for the first time. The classic comic graphic novel that kind of reinvented Batman and changed our perception of who Batman is. Like almost everything you know and feel about Batman that makes him so great today is really comes from and is rooted in The Dark Knight Returns. And in The Dark Knight Returns, when Batman fights Superman, I have never forgotten. This is really pathetic, but I can still remember where I was sitting, and I remember every single second of reading that story for the first time, especially when it came to the part when Batman and Superman fight. It is so iconic and so great. And it's not just them fighting was great. The dialogue throughout the fight is so good and memorable. And then at the end point, when Batman's got Superman down and he's grabbing him by the throat and he says, I want you to remember, Clark, the one man who beat you. I want you to remember my hand at your throat. That came first. And then he says, I want you to remember my hand at your throat. I want you to remember ... the one man who beat you. I mean, that is like, woo! I mean, that is like the most awesome thing ever. So ever since reading that, I have been pining for a Batman versus Superman movie, and now it's coming. And so therefore, nothing has more potential to break my heart. But I'm so excited for it. Cannot wait. So out of all those films that year, it may not be the best movie. It may be the best movie, but in advance, cannot deny it is the one I am looking forward to the most.
You and a lot of other people out there.
A lot of other sweaty nerds. Yep.
Okay. I think that's it for today. Thanks, you guys, so much for joining us. Just a reminder that there are a lot of great movies being shown in AMC theaters today, so go ahead and head on over to www.amctheaters.com for all of your theaters, showtimes, and ticket information. And if you want a podcast version of this episode, check out the description box below for the link and click that subscribe button. Thanks to the guys in the room, Dennis and Jonathan, and thanks to John. John, where can people find you online?
You can find me on the social media sites on Facebook or on Twitter, just at John Campia.
And you guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Ashley Mova. And thanks again so much for joining us, guys. And we will see you next time.